Canada is an incredibly diverse region, hosting several varying ecosystems including grasslands, tundra, freshwater, marine, and forests. As reported by the Convention on Biological Diversity, about half of Canada is covered by forest and woodland areas, making up roughly 10% of the planet's total forest cover. Incidentally, when I think of Canada, I think of the lush and densely forested areas I've grown up exploring. On a personal level, I value Canada's forest areas for recreational purposes. I find a lot of joy hiking, camping, and skiing within the trees. However, beyond recreational services, Canada's forest ecosystems serve many important ecological functions. Together, we can talk through some of these functions of a forest ecosystem. Firstly, we have learned that forest vegetation plays an important role in the hydrologic cycle, also known as the water cycle. When it rains and water falls over the land, the water, which isn't immediately returned to the atmosphere through evapotranspiration or doesn't run off the surface, is absorbed into the soil. So, soil acts as a significant reservoir containing groundwater, and forests interact with this groundwater in a few key ways. For one, trees cycle water from soil and release it back into the atmosphere through the process of transpiration. This process provides moisture to an area, preventing desert-like conditions. Also, as water moves through the soil, it carries nutrients with it. Tree roots uptake these nutrients, slow their flow throughout the soil, and also physically hold the soil together. This acts to reduce the risk of soil infertility and prevents nutrient runoff and erosion into nearby water sources, which can otherwise cause eutrophication. Finally, trees and their canopies have an overall cooling effect, balancing the atmospheric demand of water vapor and reducing evaporation from nearby lakes, rivers, and streams. We also learned that forests play an important role in carbon sequestration, referring to the long-term storage of carbon. As stated by the World Wildlife Fund, forests are actually the second largest carbon store after oceans, a function with ever-increasing importance as more and more carbon is released into the atmosphere due to human activity. Furthermore, we learned in class that 30% of the energy in forest ecosystems is in standing vegetation like trees, stored in carbon compounds. Trees are able to fix carbon dioxide through the process of photosynthesis. Then they can store it within their biomass. However, once carbon is stored, it's not gone forever. Trees release carbon through respiration, and also when trees are burnt, the carbon stored within their biomass gets released back into the atmosphere. Finally, we can consider that forest ecosystems exist as important habitats to many species. For example, the Canadian Forest Service reports that Canadian boreal forests are home to over 300 different and amazing species of birds. Not only are these birds different in their cool and unique appearances, but they also occupy different niches utilizing different resources. This is how they're able to coexist. We can also acknowledge the interaction between a forest and its inhabitants. For example, birds utilize forests as their habitat, but they also carry out dispersal, aiding forest vegetation and reproduction. Forests also serve as a major resource to humans, providing raw building materials and paper products as well as many others. Seeing that many ecological processes depend on forest ecosystems, it is crucial that we aim for mindful and sustainable practices in the forestry industry and in our forest interactions as a whole. We can learn a lot about sustainable practices by considering Indigenous perspectives. For example, we can consider the Mi'kmaq concept of netikulimk. Netikulimk is a way of understanding how one should live their life on and interact with the land with an emphasis on the 4 core values of respect, responsibility, relationship, and reciprocity. Albert Marshall from the Moose Clan of the Mi'kmaq Nation explains that this concept reinforces the understanding that no one being is greater than the next, that we are part and parcel of the whole, we are equal, and that each one of us has a responsibility to the balance of the system. I think that this quote really emphasizes the key idea that the systems around us are bigger than ourselves. We should all try to incorporate this into our ecological thinking and perspectives.